Welcome to One Shot D&D, the Patreon episode. I'm still here with Alex Callaghan, mainly because he hasn't left my house yet, but mostly because we're going to discuss and dive a little bit deeper into the episode you just listened to.
Oh, you wanted to keep talking?
Yeah, is that all right? Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. Were you busy? Yeah. No, it's fine. If you're busy, you can go. You can leave.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just finished wrapping up the Master Chef spin-off. What did you think?
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I like it. It's definitely cool change of pace, like one-on-one.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
interesting.
Yeah.
But I like how you've changed it up to make it cool, make it work.
Yeah.
And just hate Dale.
Yeah, dude. Do you want to talk about Dale?
Not really.
Okay, because let me talk really briefly about Dale. Dale is a character that I've brought into how many campaigns? Yeah, literally so many campaigns. And Dale is just a character that I've made just to annoy people.
Dale's the sleep paralysis demon at the end of your bed.
Dude, for sure. And you can do nothing because you instantly know you don't like him.
Yeah.
And then he just proves that he's just not a good guy in general. But
Scummy.
he's so oblivious to the fact that he's such a shit human being.
Yeah. He's like perfect long flowing hair.
Yeah,
like
frosted tips.
24 by 24 pack.
Yeah, he's
bottles of water splashing on him and
6 squared abs. It's
yeah.
Cool. So I've got a couple of questions for you, and then feel free to ask me as many questions as you want.
Is this going to be on the test?
For sure. Did you study? Well, your time starts now.
Okay.
Cool. So over the years, how has D&D changed, or the concept of D&D changed since you first started playing?
It's a really good question because I don't think I've played D&D apart from with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I have, I guess, I don't know what it might like. I'm sure that different DMs, different groups, different like ideas would change it a lot, right? But that was a question.
Well, how has your concept of D&D changed since you first started?
I guess I don't really know if it has, but I guess my original what I perceived it or what I thought it was going to be versus what it is. I was always interested in it, but I always thought like my first impression was always like, oh, that's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too difficult.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get into.
For sure.
You got to know something that's what they're talking about, etc.
Yeah.
But being with a group and a DM that like really, knows what they're doing is helpful, cares about your experience with it, changes it because it becomes this hard, scary, intimidating thing to like becoming this, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. I think that the reason I made this podcast is more so that people outside of our circle of friends can actually experience D&D. There's so many people that I've chatted to that love fantasy, that love Magic the Gathering, or obsessed with Lord of the Rings, or let's say House of the Dragon, for example. But when they think of D&D, they think, oh, like I don't have 6 hours to play something, or I don't have the rule books, I don't have the miniatures, I don't have dice, I don't want to be spending money on dice. It's it's a lot for a person to come into.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, well, why don't I create a space where you can at least try D&D one-on-one? And if you don't like it, it's perfectly fine. But if you do like it, guess what? This,
stuck now.
with a group of people that are all just shit-stirring, so much more fun. It's so much more fun. Yeah. Have you got any questions for me at all?
Any questions for you? I do have questions for you.
Yeah, cool.
They're kind of more general, but you've been a DM for how long now?
Oh, man.
It's been 87 years.
Almost like 6 or 7 years now? Yeah.
It's a long time. So, I have a question. I feel like having a preconceived idea of how you think an episode or a session or a campaign is going to go is like sort of something you have to let go of because you don't have any control over that. But I do want to know, is there one time where you, like something completely left field that you didn't even think of what happened and you were like, okay, like just completely unexpected, like one time, like probably the most notable time that you can think of where that's happened?
Okay. Yikes. Yeah, I think being a DM is definitely just being like, okay, these are kids and whatever I say doesn't matter because they'll do whatever they want.
Babysitting children right
Literally,
now.
I'll have bullet points and like a whole session outline, and then we'll be stuck on the first 2 because you guys can't decide what to do. Yeah. And you're just bantering the entire time. But one very notable thing actually came from the first campaign that we actually did. It was the moment where you guys were in Babushka's tent and you had realized that if you mention the bad guy and you really bring him in, he becomes more and more real. And the more you talk about him, the more you're actualizing him into your reality.
Yeah.
And I was talking about that and, just trying to create more fear over the BBEG. And then you decided you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave the safety and the confines of this beautiful tent. I'm going to walk outside and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not afraid of you.
I'm not afraid anymore. No, that's not true. I actually said I was afraid.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Because you got to remember that as this was happening, I was trying to stick to what was true for my character.
Yeah.
And we realized that the more you, it's not like that. It's the opposite of a demon. Like you say the name, you have power. You say his name, and he's gonna rock up.
Yeah, for sure. He's like, well, let's go.
You say my name.
You called?
Time to bang. Yeah.
Yeah.
But wasn't it that we were in Babushka's tent and the stars had started disappearing, like gods started disappearing?
Yeah.
And it's just like this big existential event. Like I imagine, what if that happened in real life? Like, what would I do? I can't be like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm okay. Yeah. It's no, that's scary.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's really scary.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm scared.
Yep.
And then he was like, oh, okay.
But that, I think, is what really took me, because I knew that it was going to be a concept in your head that you had to wrestle with and be like, okay, well, how am I going to deal with the fact that all my deities, my patrons, they're all disappearing? How does this work? Do I still have magic? Do I still have my abilities? Because these guys are just disappearing, from the multiverse. And then when you said, no, I really am afraid, and you said it out loud, and I asked, are you saying that out loud as a DM? Hint, hint, bad idea. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm really afraid. And I was like, oh, God. All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't take it back, because I feel like it's pretty true. Like, obviously, are you sure about that? Whenever the DM asks that, you're doing something. Should I do this? But I feel like it's the only thing that my character would have done.
Yeah, which is fair, which is completely fine. But if it was going to be a moment to throw me off, that would definitely be a moment that definitely threw me off. Because then now I was like, oh, geez, I might end up killing one of my characters. I might kill one of my players.
You did.
I did. You did. I did. I gave you every opportunity.
All right,
but
I did. Winston.
Yeah. Who?
Huh?
Yeah. Worst part, I killed him, but I also wiped his memory from the face of existence, which was terrible.
Because you killed me, and then you're like, oh, what's the thing you're most afraid of?
Yeah.
And I'm like, being alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just not going to exist anymore.
Yeah. So you're truly alone. So no one remembers you.
Ouch.
Yeah. Which is like, anyway.
Who are we talking about?
Very good. Very good. Cool. Has there been anything in terms of stuff that I've done as a DM where you've been like, so explain to me why you thought of that, or explain to me why you made this decision over another decision?
Wait, like me asking you that?
Yeah.
This is going to sound so stupid, but I don't really think that much about how you came up with stuff.
Yeah, cool. That's totally fine.
I like do this DMing. I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's fine. Yeah.
Oh, nothing I can think of.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
I don't think
Let's
so.
go to a question that you have.
Okay, so same sort of vibe as my last one, except not unexpected things, but what's one thing that you can think of? You probably got like a top 5 moments, but what's one moment that you can think of right now where you're sitting and you're DMing the session, and you sit back and someone says something or does something, or this scene has happened, and you go, yeah, this is why I'm a DM.
Yeah. Oh man, I've got so many. I mean, they all boil down to sessions where the players are then figuring out the plot. Because the way I like to DM is really subtle hints, and puzzles and clues that if you take time outside the game to look into, you'll go, wait a minute, something makes sense here. Someone said this a while ago or something like that. Something that comes to mind immediately was the first session of our most recent campaign that we started in the city. And every single character or player had their own little intro into the actual city, right? But I did it in a way where I was being very subtle and saying, oh, so and so has called you, but nobody's gonna know, or nobody's looking, or nobody really knows what's going on, and which are just normal sentences, right?
You don't think about that.
You don't at all, right? But it wasn't up until every single person had nobody mentioned at some point throughout the day as a hint.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the very end of the session where you were walking into a crypt trying to discover a body, and a little fox was like, hey, let me just put a little blessing on you, right?
Blessing.
And blah, 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 goes in, says something along the lines of, to all who enter into the crypt, something,
nobody can hurt you.
Nobody can hurt you from now on. And you guys thought nothing of it.
Thanks, man. You little fox, man.
And then when you figured out that the bad guy that you're looking for was named Nobody.
Yeah.
And I said, and that's where we'll end the session. the jaws that dropped onto the table, dude. Oh, I loved it, because then everyone was like, "You messed with us. You said this, this, and this. You said nobody 7 times before." I'm like,
At least.
which was great, because then it was not only like a great hook into the new campaign, but it meant that you were already invested.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic for me, you know? Oh, man. There was also one time that broke me as a DM, because I was like, I don't want to do this because it's sad, but this is going to build character. And it was the first campaign that we did, and I had introduced Ben's uncle. And he took you on a shopping spree. You guys had so much fun with him. He was buying you magical artifacts. And then...
And you had to do it.
Yeah, dude. And it worked perfectly that Ben was the one who went downstairs to open the door as well. For him to find out that his dad had killed his uncle...
Yeah. That makes it worse, right?
...was terrible.
Because it's not just like your uncle died. Your dad did it.
Ben's face when that happened, he just went pale. And he's like... But my dad would never do it. And I'm like, your dad in the game? Why do you care so much about your dad in the game? And the investment of, wait, my dad would never do it? I'm like, wow, cool, you're invested. You actually think this is your father.
Yeah.
And then when it turned out that his brother was the bad guy orchestrating this the whole time, that even broke me, dude. Because then everyone on the table was so conflicted. Instead of just, you know, black and white being like, oh, this is a bad guy, we got to kill this bad guy. Or this is our mission, it's A to B. You now had a little bit of gray in that black and white. And it was, wait, we can't kill this guy. We can try and save him. For sure we can try and save him. But I think deep down you knew that you couldn't. And even in his final breath, when he, you know, turned and helped you back up to life, it solidified the fact that you weren't happy with your decision. You know, like, we killed him, everyone's safe. But at what cost now?
Yeah.
So yeah, as a DM, those moments
cost.
really, you know, mean something for sure.
Sometimes I forget about those, but
yeah, like I love talking about old campaigns and whatnot, but just
there's no secrets anymore.
No, yeah, that's the best part. As a DM, you have to be so careful with what you say.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's not, for example, one-on-one. I can be a little bit more, you know, relaxed, because I'm like, oh, okay, I could just talk to you and whatnot. But as soon as there's more than 2 or 3 people on the table, every word you're saying is getting picked up.
Yeah.
And everyone is looking for something as like a clue. They're looking for something where they can be like, wait a minute, why'd you say that? You know?
Yeah. What did you mean when you said purple?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is that a code for something? I'm like, no, it's not. I was just saying the code. But yeah, when the campaign ends and the questions can come out, it feels so good, because it feels like you're holding a secret for the longest time. I hadn't given you the name of the bad guy till the final episode.
Which is crazy.
Which was, what, session 30?
Yeah, I think so.
Just like 150, 180 hours into a campaign.
I'm pretty sure you gave us the name at the end of the second last session.
Oh, yeah.
Place and being like, it's just
which is nice, because I figured out the name, you know, very early on, because when I made the story of King Koshi, this is a guy who, you know, really fears death, and he's going to invite a otherworldly patron to protect him.
Idiot.
Yeah. And he said, okay, if I give this thing a name, I'll have power over it, essentially, right? And
sure.
What would a king in the old country, what kind of names would he come up with? Well, I was thinking, okay, well, let's go into some sort of Babylonian, Aramaic. Let's look at those kind of names. And then Balthazar just made sense, because Balthazar translated means protector of the king. Yeah. So he just went, okay, well, his name is Balthazar because he's protecting me. But I wasn't going to tell anyone else that. Even revealing the fact that in the poem, Balthazar is his name.
Yeah.
That was a good moment as a DM.
Like a mic drop.
Yeah.
So that thing you were trying to figure out for years. Literally, because I think it did go over a year. Just like trying to figure it out. And it's got to be so cool, because to spend however long you do building a world, building a story, building characters, obviously, you know, your players are going to do whatever they want to do.
Yep.
You know, you made this amazing town for us to go figure out, and, you know, mystery or whatever, and we're like, this guy with the teddy store,
This guy?
He
pedophile.
He touches kids.
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
a pedophile.
We spent like 2 fucking sessions on
Dude, you spent a full 40 minutes interrogating this guy.
Interrogating.
Getting him to admit the fact that he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
Just because he has a toy shop.
Yeah.
which was insane for me as a DM because I'm like, no, this guy is genuinely innocent.
He was, right? That's the funniest part. People were like, no, but it's weird. You're weird. Hold a freaking knife to his throat. Like, tell us you're a pedophile.
The worst part is you went straight to admit that you're a pedophile.
Yeah.
But you didn't even ask him his name.
No. It's Peter, isn't it?
No, it wasn't. I don't have a name for him because I just had him as like a random NPC in a town. And I was like, oh, this will be fun as like a random plot hook if they go to the bar. You went to the bar and you're asking around. I'm like, oh, they'll leave. They won't ask about this. This will just be something that I just, pass along. And sure enough, you're like, hey, is there anything that you should know about this town apart from, finding a giant or whatever? And the lady goes, oh, yeah, they're missing kids. And you're like, missing kids?
You know what that means?
I swear to God, I saw a toy shop just before. So you walk out and instantly, like I had named multiple stores and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, there's a clothing store, there's a bookstore, there's a toy shop.
Bang. Missing kids.
What was Hayden's? Good Lord, Hayden's the sexy child. Oh, it's so terrible.
He was like, let's bait this guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna disguise self. Can I dress as a sexy child? Can you explain to me what that looks like?
As a DM,
get the police here right now.
As a DM, I was like, what am I feeding into? Because I was like, oh,
should I call the police?
I feel like I should record this just for just for legal issues.
9 1 what? Say what you mean.
But I think it's one of those things where you can write the most intricate session to the point where you can guide and railroad a player into, no, this is what you're going to do and you're going to like it. But I found the more freedom you have, the more choices. However, the more guided freedom you have, the more guided your choices are.
Yeah. It's like the whole, I guess the whole appeal of D&D is the freedom, right? But then again, then you have, people trying to disguise themselves as sexy kids.
Let's not
get
say
into
it.
it. Now it's not, okay.
Yeah.
Trying to, get this guy to admit that he stole the kids when he didn't have anything to do with that. And it was just this little thing that you wrote. It was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it turned into that whole big thing. But,
dude, for sure.
Yeah, so you run the risk of some crazy stuff happening.
Oh,
but then
100%. Yeah.
It's also something that you laugh about for ages, and it's still a cool campaign. But I got off tangent. But what I was going to say is the fact that you write these worlds, you write these characters, you write all of these things, and what you expect to happen. But it's got to be amazing once you get to a point where you've had enough sessions where you can just kind of sit back and you're not saying anything, and the players are just theorizing about all this stuff. They're like, oh, what about this? Is this? And it's these characters in this world that you've made that they're interacting with completely on their own, and they're having a chat about it.
For sure.
We wrap up the session, we go, and then I'll have PT with John, and then I'll be like, oh, well, what do you think Mr. Green is? What do you think this and that? And it's we're talking about it outside of, this little world that we have, and it's, you came up with this stuff, but it's runs free in our imaginations.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even on the D&D starter kit, it says collaborative role-playing. So if I just write the story and I give you a script and say, just say this so that we can get to the next scene, that's boring, because
say the line.
Yeah, exactly. It's just no, you missed your cue. If I write something and I'm like, no, this is exactly how this character is going to act. This is them, or this is the only thing that can happen. There will be a volcano regardless. I'm like, well, if I was in D&D and I was playing my player and I had all these magical abilities, I would at least try to change things, right? It is within my power to change things, so I would at least try. So giving them the option is the most important thing, within reason, obviously.
Well, that's what the rules are for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like a player asking, oh, can I cast a spell? And you're like, actually, you can't. As long as it fits within the rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I needed to get out of my head was it's not me versus the players.
Yeah.
Especially when combat, obviously, but storytelling, it's not me being like, no, you have to work harder to get this. Look, you rolled let's say 12 on history. Okay, I'm going to give you something, but I'm not going to give you the whole cake. I'm going to give you a slice of this cake. I'm not going to give you the whole thing because you didn't roll that high. But because I have an idea of what he could have rolled and what I could have told him, I can kind of cut back and be like, okay, well, because you didn't roll that high, I can still give you stuff, but it's not going to be a lot.
Yeah. I suppose as you grow as a DM, you probably eventually find the happy medium of it's supposed to flow creatively. You can reward them based off their creativity, and also the dice rolls. You let all of these things together give them a particular amount of information. Like, you're not trying to like keep everything. Say this person asks a particular question and they roll a good insight check. It's like, well, actually, I am going to give you that information because
100%.
you earned it.
100%.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm not trying to keep things from you. The more you know, the more I can tell you, the more I can create. And I'm always a stickler for just try. Yeah. Just try. Just what's the worst that can happen? Just try. For example, having Babushka as a character, you know?
Love Babushka.
See, like, he was literally just supposed to be a novel joke character that once you use the coin for the first time, you just tossed it away.
No.
Right? No, 100%. Because it was going to be like a little shop front thing.
Yeah.
Where you see the name on the coin, a magical tent appears, you go into the tent, and it's a completely TARDIS rule type thing where it's a magical collection of items. You go and talk to this really overweight Middle Eastern guy with a huge turban and a monkey, right? Like, he was lovely.
Yeah, if you have money.
If you have money, right? But as I was introducing the character, I could see that the players were a little bit more curious about stuff that was going on. And I was like, okay, well, cool. Let's play into this. Let's play into this. But instead of just telling you what he was, I had you guys tell me what you wanted him to be. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that in this concept. Or I can do that by going, instead of just making him whatever you say, I can make him something adjacent to that. So that it feels like, oh, I did guess that correctly. Or I was on the right track. Yeah. Instead of just being like, no, you're stupid. The color is actually red. No, you're there. It's more of like a purple, though, you know? Yeah. He was supposed to be a joke character who was just there for one session and then gone.
Right.
But by the end of it, he became such a pivotal character for you guys.
Well, I got to ask then, when you originally came up with the idea of Babushka, you didn't, like... His whole backstory was devastating. Did you even have that?
No. Absolutely
That's crazy.
No.
I was like crying.
Having that character as an NPC just meant that he was going to be a fill-in character so that you guys could restock items and stuff like that before you go and fight someone.
Right.
But you guys fell in love with Babushka. Ugh. And I was like, all right, I got to reward this because every time you go into that tent, you guys role played so well. You really got invested into your character and you're like, okay, how would my character react to this buffoon? Let's play. Yeah. And it was just about bantering with this guy. And I was like, all right, let's make him real. Let's make him a little bit more real. Let's actually give him a backstory. Yeah. And then looking through the story that I had made, I went, where does he fit in? Well, I want him to be a magical character. I want him to be someone who is, absurdly powerful. But these guys don't know that yet. Yeah. Let's figure it out. And then when I made the story of King Koshi, I was like, okay, how does he fit into this? I was like, well, what if he was actually a young kid in the city and he was, let's say he was the only one to escape out of the city. How would that feel? Because then he would have this, not only, fear of the bad guy, right? Mr. Green. He would not only have a right to fear him, he would have a right to make you then fear him. Yeah. By default. Instead of just saying, oh yeah, that's a bad guy, and just telling him, I could show you that he was a bad guy to more than just you. I don't know if that made sense. But yeah, allowing players to create their own world within the world that you've created is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sandbox.
That's cool. Yeah. But I guess that's the fun of it all, right?
100%.
Like, what else are we doing? Buying cool looking dice?
Yeah, dude.
Well, yes, but...
I would say that I have an addiction to dice, but I've gone to rehab and I've kind of stopped that a little bit.
Yeah. I can stop anytime I want.
Yeah, like my addiction right now is not dice. I mean, you can see behind me, there's so many miniatures and stuff like that. Like, that's all terrain. Yeah. So 3D terrain has become my new addiction.
Which is so...
Dude, I love it. Because going from like a 2D format of... squares, let's move linearly, and I might have some elevation to the game. Tree. Exactly. Let's imagine that this is a rock, or let's imagine that this is a 10-foot puddle. Yeah. Like, no, how about we visually represent it? Yeah. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but let's visually represent it. And going from 2D, which again, your miniatures are 3D miniatures, but like going from a 2D battle map to a 3D terrain changes so much. Because now you're like, well, I don't actually have line of sight on that guy, so what is my character going to do in order to get line of sight?
You can see where you have to go to get that line of sight. Yeah.
Or even looking around the environment, you're like, oh, wait a minute, you didn't describe this little lever over here. Did I not?
Did I? Oh. I can see a chain on the wall.
Who would put a lever there?
Not me.
Then you got to pull it and something happens, But like, you're interacting in your head, but you're interacting the world visually as well. Yeah. Just adds into immersion. you know?
It does. It's like you're actually
part of it. You're that character.
Yeah, you're
you
like
know?
looking around this place. What's going on?
Yeah.
Where are the things? What can I find? What can I grab? What levers can I pull?
For sure. Like, for example, you play Ark, right?
Yes.
And when you play Ark, you don't play Ark thinking, oh, I am a human being playing a video game about a character who doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's like
you are that character.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm riding the dinosaurs.
100%. J.R.R. Tolkien wrote a letter to Waldman, and they're called the Waldman letters.
Who's J.R.R. Tolkien?
Take it back.
Okay.
Take it back.
I'm sorry. Put the gun away. I'll take it back now.
He wrote this letter to Waldman, and he said, hey, what I'm writing is essentially a fairy story. And these are fairy stories. But the immersion is the most important part of a fairy story.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Gandalf looks like this, or Galadriel looks like this, and I can tell you that the dragon is laying waste to a city, but it doesn't matter if you don't care about the character.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you don't have a description about the city that's being laid to waste, right?
Yeah.
There's this one little bit where he describes a hill, just a random hill, in such great detail. And you think, oh man, this is definitely going to come back and be really pivotal. It never shows up again.
There you go.
For example, there'll be an item in Lord of the Rings in one of the books, and you look at the item and you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Wait a minute.
Hold up.
There is backstory to that item. The people in the Shire, each hobbit has a family lineage, family tree written about them. Mm-hmm. There are descriptions about everyone. The world seems so much more expansive because he played it in his head. And he's like, what question would I ask if I was reading this? I would want to know what the trees look like. Yeah. I would want to know what smells there are. I would want to know why Sauron is doing what Sauron is doing. I would want to know why Sauron defected from the Maiars.
Yeah.
I would ask, okay, well, what are some things that I would notice that have changed from Sauron because he was a good guy on the White Council and now suddenly he's bad? So what characteristics would change? How has he been seduced? Like, these are all questions that he asked. Yeah. And then when he wrote it, it just makes sense, right? Like, he even calculated how long it would take to not only ride a horse from here to here, but he would tell you in days and lunar cycles and everything like that. He would do the math so that when you're reading it, it made sense because not only mathematically that it makes sense, there was immersion in it. So
it feels real.
100%. It has to feel real, you know?
Otherwise, what are you doing?
I can tell you that someone has a sword and they slash you.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah, cool. That weapon attack hit, you got slashed. But if I describe how he's coming in with his weapon and he looks just vicious, there's envy in his eyes because you have won something that he wanted and he's tried to win all his life and you've taken that away from him. He's coming with vengeance in his eyes and he goes to slash double-handed greatsword and you see as it slashes, it cuts right in between your armor plates. It means something to you now.
It's like that meaning behind it.
Yeah. Instead of just being, oh yeah, that attack hits, that'll be 6 damage. Like that's so boring.
He doesn't like the way you look, so he's going to start swinging. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
But it means more when players buy in, right? And getting the buy-in from players is hard because I can't just be like, oh, well, this is a guy and he has a sword and he has medium length hair and he has a little bit of a gruff and he wears like a ranger's outfit. Instantly in your mind, you have an idea.
You've got like an image.
For me, I was describing Aragorn. I was describing, Strider as he shows up in The Prancing Pony. I was describing him. But for someone else who's read Ranger's Apprentice, for example, or who's read Robin Hood or something like that, that's the image that pops into their head. So they bring that image into my world and it just doesn't fit. Yeah. So they just don't buy in.
Yeah.
So I have to create a character that means something to the player at the table instead of just being like, this is basically Gandalf. Imagine Gandalf. That's who you see in front of you. It's crazy. Gandalf. And then I'll start talking. I'm like, hi, my name's Gandalf. And everyone at the table goes, that's not what he sounds like. So they just switch off automatically, right? Yeah. It's no longer suspension of disbelief. They're no longer invested because they think, oh, well, that's not what Gandalf sounds like to me. Yeah. So it's just back to being a fairy story.
But it's also cool though, because you can come full circle back around to Babushka. It's like you can put meaning to these characters, and people latch on and take that. But you can just have a random character that you made, and people put players put the meaning to the character.
100%.
And then you grow attached to that character because of the meaning that you put to it. It was still,
I mean, like,
Yeah.
even going back to, I mean, we're talking so much about the first campaign.
Yeah, go
but
ahead.
go listen to that on YouTube. It's not on YouTube. Don't look. You'll waste your time.
Good luck finding it.
But when you guys got introduced as your characters and each of you had your own teacher that,
Yeah.
you know, that meant something to you. I think it was Hayden again who had Professor S.
Yeah,
which is-
Professor S,
yeah,
dude.
he was this huge stoner caterpillar. Basically the caterpillar off Alice in the Wonderland.
Yeah.
But I had him as a stoner.
Yeah.
Like just a guy who was on meds the entire
And
time.
he was OP as well.
Oh, for sure. And I had him as a character who was just high all the time, just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
But then as you got more and more into the character and you kept asking him more and more questions, he's like, no, he's staying intoxicated because he is essentially the voice of the people.
Yeah.
So in his head, he is constantly hearing every person's struggle, every person's nightmares, every person's screaming. He's hearing that
Yeah.
across this plane of existence. So of course he's going to be heavily medicated
Yeah.
in order to not feel this. So it started off as a joke.
And then it's like, oh no, he's coping.
Yeah. Oh, there's meaning behind this guy.
He's not just Professor S.
Yeah.
He's deeply troubled.
He was deeply troubled.
Yeah. Another go to
Yeah. Oh, look, love him.
Babushka, Professor S.
Professor S was such a good character.
Captain Yeno.
Captain Yenna. Oh, Captain Yenna that died.
I liked her. I thought she was really cool. I didn't kill
Yeah.
her.
You only had like.
Why'd you do that?
Why did I kill her?
Yeah, what-
I didn't kill her.
Listen,
No.
listen,
Hold on.
no,
No,
listen,
this
no,
goes
I-
back to giving players freedom of choice. I told you guys you can go back to Captain Yetta,
Yeah.
right, and explain what you've just found, or you can have a rest and sleep here for a bit. What did you guys choose?
We took a rest.
No, a little bit louder. Go on.
Wait, we took a rest?
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
listen,
And
but listen.
somehow I'm the one who killed Yetta.
I'm the bad guy. So she died
Yeah.
by no fault of my own.
Suddenly, I'm terrible or something.
Well.
Yeah.
If it isn't the consequences of my actions.
Terrible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So why'd you do it?
Why'd I kill Yenna? I needed a reason for you guys to hate Jonah.
Don't like him.
Yeah, I needed a reason for you guys to hate Jonah so that when he got revealed as Hayden's older brother, like reincarnated older brother, that hit hard.
It means something.
Because again, you were like, oh, I really don't like you.
That guy.
I really don't like you, but I have to. But again, subtle hint, like while you were in the jail cell right next to him, it was like, you look familiar. And you guys just thought nothing of it, you know? And I was
Okay,
like,
bro. Never seen you before.
because as soon as Hayden came to me with his character, I was like, okay, I have a twist ready for your character for sure.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to kill Yenna. Yenna had to die.
I thought she was cool.
She was
I
a
did
very
like
cool
her.
character.
I loved Captain Yena, Babushka. What else did I say? Professor S.
Yeah.
What was the Dragonborn guy? What was his name?
Good lord. Goodness gracious me. I have his character like right there behind me. Brother
You know-
Thaddeus?
Brother
Yeah.
Thaddeus. Loved him. Good as well. Genesis. I feel like I arm wrestled with whether I wanted to like him or not.
Oh, really?
Like he's
Yeah.
definitely a needed character.
Yeah.
But like I think it was just frustrating because like I just couldn't figure out if he was quote unquote good
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
And I guess by good it's like, are you for us or against us?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then obviously breaking down the entire thing of like why he was doing what he was doing
Yeah.
and stuff like really made him seem more human.
Yeah.
And you kind of do feel for him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's you're an idiot. What are you doing?
You're a dad trying to protect your son.
Yeah.
But your son's really, really bad.
Your son's actually the BBG.
Yeah, your son's actually really terrible. So it goes back to me being a DM, being like, okay, well, I can make characters who I think are going to be pivotal, and they're going to be, you know, such great characters that these guys are immediately going to fall in love with. And then you'll fall in love with a random joke character like Captain Yetta. And you're like, no, I kind of like her. She was really mean to us. I was like, all right, what? I thought you'd fall in love with this was a 150-foot frost giant that you guys had to make a promise to.
Yeah.
Like his fingernail was bigger than all of you.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I was like, you guys are going to definitely fall in love with this guy. You're going to come back to him. You never came back to
Yeah,
him.
we never went back to him.
Never came back to him.
Sad.
Yeah.
I feel like that there was like obviously a natural progression of there was some side quests and
Yeah,
some
for
other
sure.
tangents
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
got distracted on, but like we all seem pretty focused on the
The
bigger
main
thing.
story. Yeah.
so-
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the whole thing. I mean, unlike video games or anything like that, with D&D, there is a main story, but there are side quests. Whereas for most video games, there are side quests and there's a main story. Like Skyrim, for example.
Yeah.
If you play Skyrim, you can just forget about the main story and just wander and then just create your own story and your own path. You don't have to follow linear progression. Whereas with D&D, it's, okay, well, here's your end goal, you know that, for example, you need to kill a bad wizard, for example. The bad guy is a wizard, you need to kill him. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
It's not, okay, he's located here, it's going to take you 3 days, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
I can tell you how I would do it. You tell me how you do it.
That wouldn't be fun, would it?
Yeah, right. So it's giving people the pieces to then put together however they see it fit.
Yeah. And even though the puzzle piece doesn't fit, and it's all like however you like lay it over where you want it, you just like bang and smash into the puzzle until it fits.
I was gonna be a little bit nicer. I was like, if the puzzle piece doesn't fit, I'm gently guiding you to flip it over or something like that. It's just brute force will always win.
Like, oh, it's all mangled. No, but it fits.
Yeah,
it fits.
I was like, oh, it doesn't. No, it does. Yeah. It's like doing a puzzle, but all the pieces are just the back. So you're putting it all together. You turn it around.
You're like, oh,
you're like, what the hell is this? It's just supposed to be a unicorn. But yeah, like overall, it's always a pleasure to play D&D, and it's always about collaboration more than just talking through and saying, you're gonna listen to me, you're gonna roll some dice, and you're gonna finish my story. No. This is our story. Yeah. We get to make it. Like,
it's like we're writing a book together.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
If you want to go and play a video game with this particular rules and you have to do a particular thing, let's go and do that. But D&D is, like you said, like collaborative roleplay.
Roleplay.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up there. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure I'll have you back on the pod when I'm obviously feeling a little bit better. Peek behind the screen. I'm dying. But yeah, no, dude, it's an absolute pleasure to play with you all the time. I hope you had fun, and I hope that these guys listened and liked what they heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up for this episode.
Thank you for introducing me to the wonderful world of D&D.
You're totally fine. Well, I hope you had fun, and I will catch you guys on the next episode.